Good afternoon. Welcome to the Labor Forum here on WRFG in our new time and space. We are on Mondays. Obviously, it's Monday, and it's 4 to 5. This is the new time for the Labor Forum. We're really thrilled to have 1 hour to talk about the issues and concerns of working people by and about and for them in their own voices here on WRFG. My name is Fiaanne Mathiowetz. I'm a retired auto worker, and I am a member of UAW Local 10. I helped build cars and trucks for 30 years on different assembly lines, and I've been retired for a number of years. And thankfully, because I had a union and I have a pension, I'm now able to really go full-time on the things that are really of most importance and interest to me, which is helping other working people get the same benefits and the same kind of right to organize, the same kind of right to have a voice on their job as I did. The song that always starts the Labor Forum off is We Do the Work by John Fromer. I love that song, I have to tell you. I love it because it's bouncy and catchy, but yet it is so clear that the reason everything operates, everything is made, everything is distributed, everything is grown, every service is done, it's done by workers, and we should take great pride in the fact that we are the ones that in fact make society run, and therefore we should take our power. The opinions that are expressed on this program, though, are those of those who make them, and not necessarily those of the board of directors, staff, or volunteers here at WRFG. There's so many exciting new developments with this program now, and one of them, of course, is that we have a co-host, Kenyon Beasley, who is with the American Postal Workers Union, Local 32 here in Atlanta. Hi, Kenyon.
Hey, how's it going, Diane?
You are one busy person, and I really want to thank you so much for taking the time to be a co-host here and participate in this program. And now I'm going to introduce Paul McLennan. We're going to have a special feature that starts every hour of the Labor Forum, and that's where we're going to look back in history and talk about and learn about something that we probably never learned in our history books. Certainly we don't learn on big business media, and that is we're going to learn about some important struggle, some important person, some important thing that happened that working people did in the past, and that helps inform us about what we are currently living through and what we should be doing. So Paul is a member of the ATU, that's the Amalgamated Transit Union Workers. He was a MARTA worker and is retired too. Right?
Yes.
Yay! It is a great benefit to have a union contract and be able to retire and then really go out and really do what you want. So Paul is going to be researching this labor history for us and bringing us a little segment at the beginning of each program every Monday. So Paul, what you got for us?
Well, thank you. This is really interesting to find every week what happened in history that we can learn from, and I think this is a good story. This week, on May 14th, 1913, there was a victorious strike of 4,000 Philadelphia dock workers who loaded and unloaded ships. These workers belong to Local 8 of the Industrial Workers of the World, a militant left-wing labor union. Local 8 was an interracial, multi-ethnic local. From the beginning, the IWW was committed to racial equality, and Local 8 had the IWW's largest number of African American members, as well as its most significant African American leader, Ben Fletcher. Also called the Wobblies, the IWW believed in equal treatment for African Americans. Their constitution declared that all workers, regardless of color or creed, could join the union. They believed that all wage workers, regardless of their ethnic, national, or racial heritage, should identify as workers in opposition to their employers, with whom workers shared nothing in common. Thousands of longshoremen joined the IWW because it preached equality and had proven that its militant direct action tactics could succeed. Beginning in 1913 and lasting for the next 10 years, Local 8 dominated the ports along the Delaware River, despite intense opposition from employers and the government. Beyond many bread and butter gains, Local 8 also integrated work gangs, meetings, social gatherings, and leadership posts, all unprecedented among labor unions during that period. The 1913 strike was, at that time, the only example where dock workers formed a united front without distinction of race or religion. More than half of the dock workers were black, and for the first time, the leadership of the strike was carried out on a basis of equality. In a country where management systematically used the weapon of racism to divide the workers, the fact that African Americans were able to participate fully in this strike was a major event. In addition, many women from the South Philadelphia area, where most of the workers lived, actively supported the strike. The strike ended on May 28th, with the dock workers receiving wage increases and improvements along with control over hiring. Every May 16th until 1921, Local 8 organized a strike day in honor of the forming of the local, stopping the port with a march of 40,000 people. Local 8 stands out as the IWW's most inclusive union. It was certainly one of the most progressive unions in the entire nation. Benjamin Harrison Fletcher was born in Philadelphia in 1890. He worked as a day laborer and a longshoreman. Fletcher joined the IWW and the Socialist Party around 1912. Fletcher became a leader of the IWW in Philadelphia, beginning a long career in public speaking. Following the strike, he continued to lead Local 8. As the U.S. entered World War I, Philadelphia became one of the most important ports for the war effort. Though they engaged in but a single work stoppage on their anniversary, the federal government targeted Local 8's leaders, Fletcher included, in its national raids on the IWW. Demonstrating his importance, Fletcher was the only African American among the 100 members of the IWW tried in 1918 for treasonous activities. While no direct evidence was provided against Fletcher, Local 8, or even the IWW, all of the defendants were found guilty. Fletcher was fined $30,000 and sentenced to 10 years in Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary in Kansas. While in jail, Fletcher's release became a celebrated cause among African American radicals, championed by The Messenger, a monthly magazine co-edited by A. Philip Randolph. Fletcher served around 3 years before his sentence was commuted in 1922. After his release, Fletcher remained committed to the IWW. He stayed involved in Local 8 and gave occasional speeches on tours and street corners into the 1930s. Fletcher's health failed while still young, typical of longshoremen and other manual laborers. He moved to Brooklyn with his wife, where he worked as a building superintendent until he died in 1949. The union that he helped lead for a decade, Local 8, stands as a rare example of interracial equality in the early 20th century and an inspiration to us today.
Wow.
Wow. We got thumbs up from the folks here in the studio. I don't even know exactly where to start. There was not one piece of that I knew.
Yeah, great piece of history.
And so how did you find it?
Yeah.
Just researching online, there's some good, actually it was an interesting intersection between labor, history, and black history. And those two sites both identified this as an important day, an important time.
So, so this strike, you said that it was victorious, it won them wages. Had there been other strikes that hadn't done as well?
They said that this was really a breakthrough because they had been not succeeding in the past. But because of the unity they were able to build in this case, that's why they were able to win.
Wow, it's a great piece of history. I'm amazed. by the fact of the integration for that particular time. Wow, equal across the board. I don't know much about socialism, but it worked in that particular case.
And I think it's probably very interesting to think about the migration that must have happened for the African Americans to find work in Philadelphia and then get involved in the struggle.
Right, right. And it probably also led to there's a history of the black population being based in the South pretty much at the turn of the century and having this great, again, migration during the 20s, 30s to the North for the jobs. I'm pretty sure this encouraged everybody.
Right. It set a standard for what unions can do.
Right, right.
I think the other thing is that, again, because I'm not super familiar, but I certainly know that the issue of having unions at that time, it was a very kind of conservative and very narrow definition, and that there were not unions that did this. In other words, they enforced the racial segregation that the bosses and the government had in place. So I'm really pleased. Thanks, Paul. This was a great opening, first historical segment on the Labor Forum, and I hope that we just keep uncovering all this incredible information.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to the one that we have next Monday as well. We're going to take a short little break right now while we transition to our guests that are in the studio. And we're going to be talking about the fast food and low-wage workers' struggles that have just swept this country, really not just this country, but the world. And it really kind of flows very much into the kind of history that Paul just described, where sort of a new day is being developed in the labor movement. So stay tuned right after this message.
Come celebrate with your favorite community radio station, WRFG 89.3 FM, for our 41st birthday of independent hand-picked music and progressive news, views, and information on Saturday, July 12th from 2 to 7 p.m. There will be lots of fun, music, dance, games, vendors,
So just make sure you talk into the mic.
good, delicious food.
You too, my
Come
man.
out,
Make sure you
enjoy,
talk.
and celebrate the many years of independent community broadcasting. That's the 41st WRFG Birthday Bash celebration to be held Saturday, July 12th from 2 to 7 p.m. on the grounds of the Little Five Points Community Center for Arts and Culture at 1083 Austin Avenue Northeast, Atlanta.
10 seconds.
30307. Stay tuned for more information soon to be announced.
And we're back, and this is the next segment of the Labor Forum here on WRFG 89.3 FM. I have to say it's a beautiful day in Atlanta, and we have some great, beautiful guests in the studio. Beautiful not just because they are, but because of the incredible struggle that they are engaged in. Truly a historic struggle, and maybe sometime in the future there'll be some other segment of the Labor Forum, and we'll talk about the rise of low-wage and fast food workers, and our guests, Faith Krevis and Connie Ogletree, might get mentioned in the history books. Certainly the movement will get mentioned. So we're going to segue into this next section of the program, where we're going to learn directly from these two sisters who both are involved at their workplace and in the community in raising the issue of how no one can survive on $7.25 and how $15 an hour is a fair start. It's a fair starting wage, and we want to move on up from that, but everybody who puts in a labor job needs at least $15 an hour to survive. So I want to introduce, I forgot to tell everybody. You know, besides listening on the radio and listening on your computer and listening on your mobile app, those of you who are fortunate enough to be watching on the Labor Forum YouTube channel actually get to see the faces of the folks that are here in the studio. And, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and you can see when you watch them discuss their issues, just how much it means to them and how engaged they are. And so you can go to the YouTube channel, the Labor Forum YouTube channel, and it'll be archived when you get home. And you can watch the program there. I also want to make sure I always thank Chris Hollis for being our engineer. He's another young worker who's a great volunteer here at WRFG, and Ozzy Ibrahimi, who videotapes. So we have a really growing great crew here at the Labor Forum, and we invite you to see if there's a way you can volunteer and help too. Okay, now back to what we were going to talk about. So, you know, there's this thing about how, well, let me just say that the fact that low-wage workers at McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger King and all these restaurants, you all have just taken these big corporations at 1%, and you got them by the neck, and you're just shaking them with these actions that have taken place. And I want to say that you have changed the discussion. You've changed the discussion by your actions, by your determination. And so I want to give you a big up for that to start with. And then I'm going to go ahead and just start with Connie Ogletree, who is a McDonald's worker and has spoken at numerous rallies on the fight for 15 and the right to join a union.
That's correct.
So Connie, if you just want to go ahead, there's not a person who's listening who has not been in a fast food restaurant and engaged with a fast food worker.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they don't quite get the speed of your job, the hard work of your job. Could you just talk about how it is to be a McDonald's worker?
Well, for me, you are under a lot of pressure to get the customer in and out of the store or the drive-through window within a certain period of time, which calls for the people in the back who are preparing the food to have that particular type thing ready to go, wrapped in the bag, ready to put in the customer's hands. Well, meantime, you still got to keep preparing food. You still got to keep stock up. You need cups, you need straws, you need napkins, you need salt, you need pepper. You need everything that the customer may want at the drop of a dime. So, you know, it's not that you have to be a rocket science to do that, but it does take a person to be focused on the need of the customer, because each customer has a different need. If a guy or a family comes in with children, you want to try to give the kids a little attention to make sure that they're getting something that they can eat, something that the parents are happy with paying for, and getting the kids, you know, and the family back to the table, or like I said, to the drive-through, you know, as fast as possible. You want their food, and they want their food to be clean. It's up to us who work behind the counters to make that happen. And there are certain standards that McDonald's, I know, and all other fast food restaurants hold that must be adhered to. When a person takes a tray to have a dinner or a breakfast or whatever inside the restaurant, those trays have to be cleaned with a certain type of solution. And it's up to the people behind the counter to make sure that those solutions are at, you know, the right mixture or the right temperature, or that it's not outdated. You know, things have to be date stamped. It has to be rotated, and you've got to do all of that while the customer's coming in. Now, asking for $15, I don't think is outrageous, because when I started working, my very first job was a fast food job. I was making like $2.35. However, if the cost of living kept up with the times, the minimum wage would be above $15.
That's right.
So $15 is not a whole lot of money to ask for somebody to come in. I get up at 4 o'clock most mornings to go to work, because I work in the morning. Excuse me. And if I'm late, that kicks things behind. If the bus is late, if I got to stop for gas, depending on what form of transportation I'm taking, you know, that takes into my life. If the bills took most of the money, I got to take a train. That's going to keep me. I can't get there when they want me, because if I'm taking the train, because I don't have as much money to put in the car to drive, I have to take the bus and the train. That's 2.5, almost 3 hours one way, just to get there. So then I got to get off the bus and then walk about 2.5 blocks to the job, and walk in the door and get to it. So
how long have you been doing this?
I've been at McDonald's now 2 years. I've never received an increase. I've never received a performance evaluation. And these are things that I have learned since I've joined this cause that McDonald's Corporation mandates that happens. But my particular franchise does not adhere to that. But, you know, I need a job. So in the meanwhile, I'm still looking for something else. But I can't do but so much at one time. And truly, if I take a bus, by the time I get to work and come back home on the bus, 2 buses and a train, I'm tired. I'm very tired. And God forbid it's 98 degrees in the shade at the bus stop. I mean, it drains you. No matter how much water you drink, how many 8 hours you try to squeeze, I still got to go home and mop my floor, clean my bathroom, and I have to clean my clothes. I have to do laundry for myself, you know. So I really don't think it's anything that anyone else doesn't deserve that's doing whatever they're doing, not just the fast food worker, but I think minimum wage for anybody should be no lower than $15. We couldn't get our own federal government to give us a 10-10 increase. I thought that was shoddy.
Oh, I know.
You know, that was
Pitiful. It was actually, I thought it insulting.
It was insulting. That's a very good word for it. It was very insulting to the American people as a whole. Because even if, you know, like in the past years, when children, such as when I first started working at fast food at 15, 16 years old, you don't see those kids in those stores anymore. You really don't. You see grown people with children, small children, trying to make a living. And that's because some of the other jobs that are out there, they're either not qualified for, or they haven't finished school in order to get another job that pays more. So everybody's got to start somewhere. And then some people might stumble along the way and have to fall back on that. No matter which way, I say, no matter which way you go in life, you should always be able to get out there and find a job that pays you a decent wage so that you can have a decent, you know, living and be able to afford just the basics. You shouldn't have to choose, it's going to be the light bill, the gas bill, transportation, how much food am I going to buy, can my kid go to camp this summer. You shouldn't have to choose between things that are just so fundamental as a basics for what a family needs. I I took a vacation because I had some breast issues and I had to have surgery. So upon finding out what I had to have done, I saved my money, and in January I had to be off until the 1st of March. So I didn't work at all those months. They didn't call me, how are you doing, Miss Connie? They didn't send a card, you know. They just, basically when I said I could come back to work, they were like, well, I can give you 2 days. I said, well, can I get 3? Well, I'll see. And I haven't gotten it yet. And here it is, May.
So you're only working 2 days a week?
Yes, ma'am. And I'm going to say, when I go to work, I go in there to work. I go in there to work. If somebody comes in there and wants oatmeal, they don't want too much water in the oatmeal, they don't want the oatmeal stiff, they want the oatmeal made right. If I got 6 customers wanting oatmeal and I'm trying to make 6 cups of oatmeal, everybody wants their oatmeal made right. And I got to be in the frame of mind to where I know where to stop the water, how many times to turn it, how much fruit to put in it. You know, it's like I said, it's not rocket science, but you do have to be focused on what you're doing. And if you're standing there tired because you didn't get much sleep last night, because you had to stay up late, the baby was up, or you had to take the dog to the vet, or you were just tired and you couldn't rest. Because a lot of times I don't rest well at night and I just lay there. So when the clock goes off, I gotta get up. I gotta get up because I need that little change. And that's basically what it is change.
All right, listeners, I think you can understand very well why Connie Ogletree is one of the leaders of the fast food workers strike that's going to happen on this Thursday, and we'll be talking about that in a little minute. I want to get Faith in here. Faith, can I ask how old you are?
I am 22, going on 23.
All right, so in some respects, a lot of people, when they think about low-wage workers, they think about people your age, and they think, well, hey, that's okay.
Yep.
She's living with her parents, and she didn't have any bills, and she didn't have any responsibilities, and so tell the truth.
Well, the truth is, it's not pretty. First of all, before I start talking about myself, I just want to say thank you to Connie for sharing her story. It's
welcome.
really important. Everything you shared was like totally relatable.
I'm sorry, I forgot to say, you work out at the airport, and the airport
Yes, I
is a place with dozens and dozens and dozens of retail stores, restaurants, fast food, kiosks, all kinds of people working for low wages.
It's another beast for sure. I will say that. I think for me as a young person, a lot of people assume that I work in a restaurant, so I'm a server. And a lot of people just assume that I'm doing this to get myself through school. But the truth is, I'm a college graduate. And I've been working in food service for the last 5 years. So it's not really, me just trying to get through school. This is me actually trying to make a living. I'm in debt now because of my college education. And because the economy isn't very good. These are the only kind of jobs, everyone's got to eat. These are the only jobs that people can get. It's the only industry that's growing right now. And I've been kind of stuck. I'm trapped in between college and career, and I'm not the only young person, who's struggling with this. And how am I going to be able to pay back my loans with $2.90 an hour wage? Yeah, I make good tips, but sometimes it's not worth getting bossed around by people who don't respect me, who don't understand how I'm running around like crazy. There's so many times where I have to tell people, it's the busiest airport in the world, you gotta cut me some slack. But, running around, a lot of things that Connie said too, stocking the ice, getting the cups stocked. Sometimes you get 3-4 tables at a time. I usually get like 12, 13, 14 table sections every day. So there's a lot of times where 3 or 4 of those tables will be sat at one time, and I have to run around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to get everything for everybody, getting everything that everyone needs. And I guess the biggest issue for me, really, as a young person, is not being proud of my work. I'm proud of my work for sure, but knowing that other people are kind of looking down on me because I do have a college degree and I'm working these food service jobs. I think a lot of people look at workers in general, especially in food service, kind of look at them as, oh, they're working for a low wage, they must be uneducated, or, just, simple things like that.
I totally agree with that. I do.
And that's not the case. I have a college degree, I'm working hard. And because of that, people can be very disrespectful, kind of naive and ignorant. But just today, I had a customer write on my receipt that I was the worst server they've ever had, and that I should pick another profession because I didn't get her plates right when she had asked me for them. And it's just crazy. There's a lot of people who don't understand how hard work it is. I'm not uneducated, or I'm not a good person because I work these jobs.
And again, I agree with that, because I also have an associate's and I'm working toward my bachelor's. But the fact remains that people in general deserve respect. It doesn't matter what you do, because first and foremost, if you're coming to a place where I work, that means you want that service that I'm delivering. So you would want to try to treat me the way you want to be treated. I don't go to a restaurant when I can afford one and look down on people. And I've been fortunate enough not to have, in my 2-year experience with working as a fast food worker, not to have a lot of people look down on me, but that does happen. I still have, in the 2 years, I can count 3 of our regular customers, because most of the day people are very regular. They're the same people every day. But 3 of those people still won't put their money in my hand. They'll put the money on the counter and then look at me. And I'll give them their money back depending on how I feel, either in their hand or back on the counter. So I truly think that's disrespectful, because it's a way to do business. And if you do that with everybody, then that's just who you are. And I have to accept that, and I try not to treat you any differently than I would the next person. But I feel that if you sweep streets, if you clean up bathrooms, those are things that need to be done. And somebody's got to do it, whether it's a person with an MBA or BA or AA. If you dropped out of high school, if you never went to school at all, somebody's got to do that work. And that work is important to make things go. You know, things have to be moved on in a certain order. We can't drive down the street if it's full of trash or potholes. Somebody's got to do that work. It's a dirty job. Those guys get out there, they're all sweaty and dirty looking, but they're doing a job that needs to be done. You go into the airport, you've been on that flight or you're waiting on your flight been canceled, you're aggravated. You need somebody to serve you a cup of coffee. Well, this lady's been up all day trying to do her job. She needs the money, and then you're going to sit up there and say she was the worst person that ever served me. Maybe she was. Maybe you're having a bad day. Maybe she had a bad day. But I like to keep an open mind no matter if I'm awake or if I'm asleep. I like my mind to be open. I don't like my mind closed because you can't let anything in if it's closed. If your mind is open and you see something, if it had been me, I would have been, do you need a break? Do I need to talk to your boss and tell him to give you 5-10 minutes extra so that you can go and refresh yourself? And because I'm sure you don't, serve people like this every day or you wouldn't have a job. But we all have those times. And it's very important that we keep in mind that when you go to a fast food restaurant or wherever it is you're going, that you treat people the way you want to be treated.
And it wasn't like, it's not like I'm just standing around goofing off. I'm running around back and forth in and out of the kitchen. We don't have a food runner at the moment, so I'm doing more than what I'm required to do when I was hired. So it just blows my mind that people think that they are the only one that I'm giving my attention to.
I get that too.
And a lot of times they, if they're not satisfied, they don't tip me. And if they don't tip me, then my bills aren't going to get paid. And, I'm not going to be able to pay my school loans or whatever. So it's corrupt.
Hey, Connie, Faith, and I got to tell you, you guys, you really articulate the situation as far as being pretty much customer service field, which is what you really are
That's
in.
it.
You've enlightened me to some things. I didn't look at it the way that you guys have been able to explain it. For me, it was just about the wage. That nobody deserves to get less than $15 an hour. But when I hear what you guys have to go through,
I mean, it's life.
well,
To me, it's very simple because, like I said, if you're picking up paper off the street, if you're serving the president of the country or a dignitary, if you're a school teacher, they're underpaid. I mean, there's so many people in our world that deserve so much more, and so many people that have a lot that don't want to share.
right.
And my girlfriend, my very best girlfriend, I've known her for over 30 years, she once said, if the rich were to try to help the people that are poor, they wouldn't stop being rich, they'd just be less rich. So rich is rich.
Right.
If you're rich, you're rich. You're just less rich. And then I would think that you would feel good about yourself because you're helping somebody. And that in turn would make our world better as a whole. So, you can't expect to always have everything come to you and then never give anything back. That's using a closed hand. And that's not fair, because if the people that make you money stop making you money, can you get down there and make that money?
Well, didn't they have a situation, a few years back with the city of Alpharetta? They were looking for pretty much some fast food workers, and they were paying them a higher wage because they could get nobody out there.
Yeah.
What I don't understand, if the city of Alpharetta can pay a higher wage, you can't tell me that the city of Atlanta
Right,
or
everybody.
everywhere else can
Yeah,
pay the same
yeah.
wage.
I want to ask Faith a question because she said something that maybe many people don't know, and that is that even this minimum wage of $7.25 an hour does not apply to what they call wait staff in restaurants.
Yeah.
So what is it that you get an hour?
I get paid $2.90 an hour.
Wow.
And I
That's what the company pays.
Yeah, yep, that's what the company pays, and the rest of my money I get from customers. But I've worked in restaurants before, and the last restaurant I worked at, I was paid $2.13 an hour.
I think
and-
213 is the minimum
It's
wage.
the minimum,
Right.
for
Yeah.
waitress, yes.
And hosts and bartenders, they get paid, little as well. And us servers, it's on us to tip them out. So we have to give our tips to them. When the company could, making $20,000 a day, they could just give them a living wage, but they're putting it on us servers, and it's almost like a way to get us workers kind of against each other,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
totally not, it's totally counterproductive,
So I want to kind of move this conversation to the organizing efforts that are going on. And I don't know, we have another airport worker here. I don't know whether you want to slide your chair up too. And we're going to just kind of do a general conversation now. I want to ask you all about this effort to organize what for many, many years unions, labor officials just thought there was just no way, because lots of times it's transitory for workforce. Lots of times, and certainly in many years, it was a younger workforce that was
Right.
considered your so-called entry-level job, the one that you got when you were a high school senior or something, and maybe into your early 20s, and then you moved on. And I think it's been described very accurately. This is not the economy of that.
It once was.
This
right?
is a whole different situation now with every type of work, just about, the wages being pushed down, pushed down, pushed down. And so that now really the vast majority of workers could more correctly be described as low wage, in that the level of poverty, the level of inequality is skyrocketing. And so that more and more people find themselves in this situation of barely being able to make it and going into debt constantly, to be able to pay the bills this month and then trying to pay that off and go on and on. And credit cards and school debt, etc. So Pat Cambias is here too. He also, no, let's go. You want to come up here? Okay. And he's also an airport worker, and both he and Faith are involved in organizing out of the airport. Humongous job. So I want to first ask the two of you if you could talk about just exactly how that is being done, because you have multiple stores and kiosks and workers doing different things. So is this just an effort for workers that work in food services, or does this also include the ones working on the little stores that sell the newspapers? So
Yep.
please do describe that.
Sure. Our union, Unite Here, Local 23, has organized tens of thousands of food service workers around the country. And really coming down to Atlanta, they come to the airport with the approach that the airport is strategically, centrally important to the city of Atlanta and building worker power in Atlanta and Georgia and the South. But like we've been talking about, the airport is home to jobs where people go to be dehumanized, like a lot of fast food jobs are, and the airport is an extreme version of that, I think, because it's all kind of compacted into this airport that's trying to fashion itself into a mall, and it's basically
Right.
become a revenue monster for the city of Atlanta. The revenue they get is in the billions with a B. And so, for the business class in Atlanta, it's extremely important that they squeeze every single penny, every single cent of value out of each hour worked by each worker. And the way the jobs have conditioned workers, it's really made them entirely dependent on these jobs, even though they pay very little. Like the job where I worked. I'm a young guy. I got few bills to pay. I don't have a family, but a lot of my coworkers were young single mothers, and who worked 2, sometimes 3 jobs at the airport to get by. And when you're living paycheck to paycheck, the manager knows that. And if you're not willing to be obedient, what they tell you is, all right, well, I can get somebody to replace you tomorrow.
They tell you that, all right?
Oh, I've been told that many times. And so the airport's a jungle, okay? They know that, and so basically with the common experience, I think all airport workers, what we have in common is a thick skin, and we have a common experience of what I call taking it. You gotta take it. You can't really do anything about it. And so for a lot of airport workers, you know, it's just the way it is for them because they don't have an alternative. Because, you know, for the business class in Atlanta, the airport is super important.
Right.
Meanwhile, for the community, it is a huge source of jobs. If you need a job, you always know you can go to the airport
Right.
to get a job if you need a job, and then they realize what kind of job it is actually. And so when you need it, what happens is fear overcomes your self-respect, I think. And organizing at the airport is a tremendous challenge. But we have some really strong worker leaders who are gaining a movement vision and are trying to envision the airport being a place where people can go to get jobs that actually pay the bills and you can actually raise a family and pay for their college education. And that's my vision for the airport down the road, is that it can be a collection, a job hub of decent, well-paying, humane jobs, and you can work with dignity. I used to go to bed at night before work in the morning, just not wanting to go to sleep because I didn't want to wake up in the morning and go back to work.
Well, let me ask you this, Pat. As far as you guys organizing out there, you said that you've been told outright, you know, they could replace you by the managers. No, you're not here. Is that one of the, I don't know, are you guys offering any kind of resolution to those type situations outside of the pay?
Yes, I think in my experience, and a lot of experience with my coworkers, pay is always important.
Right.
But for me personally, and a lot of people I know at the airport, the biggest thing is respect.
Right.
There's no respect because they know they can boot you up. I'll give you one story. The first time I got at the airport, it was through the Atlanta Workforce Development Agency, unemployment, down by Pollard Street, by Turner Field.
Okay.
That's how I got my first job, and so me and this other girl, we were at the same orientation. We got started at the same job, and so you know, and they companies hire people from there for the tax breaks that they offer. So it's like incentive. Anyway, we started in the atrium of the airport, and when she was going through a lot of stuff, she had 2 little kids, and she basically became homeless, and she was waiting on a phone call from the homeless shelter that she had applied to, and was going to hopefully get in, and it was a really important call, and she had to take it on the job while we were training to open a new store down at the atrium.
Okay.
And so she got caught on the phone, and the manager basically took her badge, because we all have to be badged, and that's an expression at the airport. You get your badge taken, you're fired. And they got fired, and she tried to explain the situation. She tried to explain, no, I need this. I need to take this call. This is in terms of where I'm going to stay tomorrow. And the manager just had no time to listen. It was...
So here it is. She's trying to help herself.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to do for herself.
It was the first moment that I started to realize that you really have no control over your job there. They can do whatever they want. I had a coworker who explained it, the way he explained it was, you know, here we're under the thumb of the employer. They can squish us and hold us there if they want, or they can swat us away.
Well, let me ask you this. As far as the potential membership, what kind of reaction are you getting? I do understand about the leaders. You yourself, both of you guys, you explained it well. But what kind of reaction are you getting out there?
Well, when workers know there's another way,
Right.
when workers know there's a way to fight
Alternative.
an alternative, then they will pick up and fight. And it's happened, you know, I mean, the union's been in the airport for about 5 years, so we're very young.
Okay.
We're still building, we're still growing. So we've had some really good fights, but it's still a widespread thing in the airport of you know, the apathy. A lot of workers still don't know that they even have a union,
Right.
even if they're in the union, and also fear, because standing up to your boss
It's a big step.
can be
It
the
is.
hardest thing to do.
Power numbers.
That's it,
Well,
right there.
that's what you gotta convey to the membership.
So we're getting in there, and what we're trying to do is, you know, workers organizing each other. I think because we have a very small staff, Okay, the way Unite Here organizes is building through committees of workers. So slowly and surely, the workers are starting to organize themselves. Like that's why I've become so active, because I've seen the way the union fights, and I figured, okay, well, I'm gonna work here. I might as well make it better.
And can I ask you and Faith, I'm going to get to Connie because we've got 2 events coming up that are important for people to know about and to participate in. Do you want to go ahead right now and talk about your event on
Yeah,
Saturday,
real
and then we'll go to Connie and the strike that's going to take place on Thursday?
So, Unite Here is a union that prides itself on training its workers and its organizers, and so we're having an organizing skills training this Saturday, May 17th, at the IWW building from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's a skills training on how to tell your story, something that Connie can do very well. Like Connie is the kind of worker leader that can naturally do that, and the point of the skills training is trying to teach everyone how to tell a story, because the way I've heard Connie speak at rallies, and the way she tells a story, it inspires people.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you know how to tell your story in a way that inspires people to act, you're on your way to organizing. So it's a skills training on how to do that, basically, and also it's kind of an excuse to bring together a lot of great people.
Okay, so that was 11 o'clock this Saturday?
So, yeah, if you're interested, for more information, you can call my number. It's 401, it's a Rhode Island area code, 401-808-9300.
Thanks. Maybe at the very end we'll have another chance for everybody to jump in, but I want to move the conversation to what's going to be a huge event taking place this Thursday.
Yes.
150 cities.
33 countries outside of the U.S. And
Talk about it.
I'm very, very fortunate to be able to partake in this, because I think this is going to be big. I think our voices are going to really stand out this time. They've had a couple of fast food strikes in the past, but nothing at this magnitude where there are people outside of the United States that are willing to say, hey, we're going to help you guys bring your voices out so it can be heard loud and clear that a livable wage is not something that you should have to choose. It should be something that's a given. You should be given this just because you say, I need to stand up and work.
Right.
I want to work. And if you want to work, you can go to work and make a livable wage, something that will sustain you, your family, your car, your MARTA bus, or whatever it is that you need to do. At 5:30 a.m. on May the 15th, we will be gathering at Krispy Kreme Donuts on Ponce de Leon. From there, we will leave and strike at 3 different restaurants on Moreland Avenue, beginning at 10 a.m. at Long John Silver's. Moving from there, we'll be going to the Wendy's and the McDonald's, also on Moreland. And at 1 o'clock on the 15th, we will be at Burger King on the corner of Fair Street and Northside Drive. After that, we're going to have a community picnic so that everybody can get refreshed and, come down a little, because I'm hyped already. I'm super excited because, at first I was kind of, people were like, oh, you're a leader. I didn't even know I was a leader. I was just saying, I don't like this. This is not what I am. This is not who I am. But this is what I'm doing right now, and I can't make it. And I had no idea it was like this. So when I see young women that have kids or that are in school that are trying to do the right thing, even young men that have had problems with the law, trying to get a job and keep a job and just stand up and do what they should be doing, they can't make it on these little bitty hours. You want to have 15, 20 different people, get you 5 or 6 good folks and pay them. I'm saying they're going to be there 40 hours a week because they need that money.
Yeah, this is a point that we haven't really talked about, and which is the way these employers it's not even just that it's only $7.25 an hour. It's not even 40 hours at $7.25 an hour.
I don't think
It's 10 hours,
We're all
15
part-time.
hours.
Everyone's part-time.
I get 10 hours maybe. I'll be scheduled for 10 hours. Okay, you got your 2 days. You scheduled for 5 hours a day. Okay, say it costs more to keep the store open. This is what they tell me. Well, it costs more to keep the store open and pay all you got. Somebody got to go home. Well, I only been on the clock 3 hours. I got to go. So now I've driven or spent $5 on the bus to come out there and have made 21 bucks. Got to take 5 out of that.
Wow.
Okay?
So this actually does go back to when you said earlier in the program, the $15 was a starting point.
That's a start, people. Not, we ain't trying to get there and stay stuck. Like I said earlier, if the minimum wage kept up with the cost of living, it would be more
You're right.
than $15. So I don't think that's a whole lot to ask for a person to just make a living for themselves. That's not even $30,000 a year. Okay, so we ain't talking a whole lot of money. But it is enough money where if a person could say, hey, tonight, instead of having hot dogs, we're going to have hot dogs with chili. Okay, a can of chili is almost $3. Come on.
You can pay more in taxes, you can contribute to your economy more.
Wow, I mean, it's just so much more that you could do. And especially when you got those little brown eyes looking at you saying, Mommy, why? I'm very fortunate that my child is 21 and he's a member of your union. And I thank God that he has a union job. And when I started working at 16 and I went to college, I got a job and they had a union. I joined that union. So I feel very strong about jobs with unions because I know unions are really what helps keep this country great because it doesn't let the little guy speak by itself.
Right.
He's got a bigger voice that says, hey, we're serious. We need this, and this is not something that's out of the ordinary. I'm not trying to go take all your gold. You can give me a little bit of the silver. Just let me have something that I can be proud of. Make it worth me getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and being dead tired at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and sleep. And when I tell you, if I don't get my nap,
Me and you both, Tom.
I don't get my nap during the day, somebody got a problem. If it's a dog or a cat, but somebody got a problem.
That's exactly.
So, we just want people to know why we're fighting. We're struggling. I saw on Facebook today a poster of some women, I think they might have been maids, that Dr. King was fighting, they were having a march about. They were asking for the same thing we're asking for now, a livable wage, a decent way of life. That's all. Because you can't furnish a home, buy school clothes, or even pay for the uniforms that they make us buy off the money that they pay us. My first check when I started working at McDonald's two years ago, the first, right there after the taxes was a uniform deduction. My very first check.
So in essence, you paying to work there.
I got to pay them to wear. I got to pay them to free advertise.
Right.
Because I'm on the bus with a big M on my shirt, big M on my hat, a big M on my hoodie when it's cold. So I have to buy all that out of my pocket. It's not half and half. I got to 100% buy it. I got to have certain shoes. We got to have the non-skid shoes.
Yeah.
They're not cheap. I mean, I'm sure you probably could find them, but I haven't seen any. So, it's just something that every person, it should be a given and not something that you just constantly have to want for, because it's not a luxury.
So one more time, if there's a website, a telephone number, first for the Thursday fast food strike, which I have, as I've read on the internet, multiple places, it's at least 150 cities in the United States are going to have some kind of activity, some sort of strike action. And as Connie said, from 33 other countries, there's going to be solidarity actions. And then she's looking here over her glasses. Here they are.
I just want to give you guys a couple of websites to follow, please. You have hashtag Fast Food Global. You have hashtag Rise Up Georgia. And my favorite, Rise Up for 15. Then you have Raise Up for 15.org. These are some of the ones that are specifically targeting fast food workers. And again, our locations are going to be at Ponce de Leon at 5:30 on the 15th,
In the morning.
Moreland and Glenwood at 10 a.m., and then at 1 p.m. at Fair and Northside Drive with a picnic at Cleophas Johnson Park, which is right across the street from the Burger King. We can use all the extra voices that are available, and I'm telling you, we're coming out in numbers. I got 7 people out of my store. One of them is a manager, and I was really surprised at that. So, you know, people are tired of making minimum wage. Even the managers that are making $8, $9, they need a raise.
Hey, I just left the McDonald's on Moreland. I just asked simply, you know, a quick question. They got all hype about it.
We've been there twice.
Okay, yeah, I'll see you.
We've been there twice, yeah. We've there. They know us, and the last time we went there, the police came, and you know, we orderly left, and it was no big thing, but you know, I felt that same vibe from the customers, because they had a lobby full of customers, and the people were clapping, and you know, so they were honking their horns at the posters we had out front. So we have a lot of local support, and I really appreciate that. I really thank everyone for their support, and we want you to come out and be with us on the 15th at
Postal
either
workers,
time.
Teamsters.
There you go.
ATU. Of course, tomorrow Monday.
More Monday, yeah.
Unite
Yeah.
Here.
Unite here.
Atlanta Jobs with Justice.
There you go.
Okay, one real fast, we want to let Kenyon talk about, there's another Staples action this weekend.
All right, actually we got several, but the ones we really would like everybody to come out to at Gulf Metro, the main post office up there in Duluth, Georgia, 1605 Box Road. And we have one on Sunday, May 18th, which is the very next day, 3900 Crown Road. Pretty sure everybody's aware where Crown Road is. But both of those rallies are both days this weekend, 1 to 3 p.m.
And that's again about the issue of privatization, taking away union jobs, putting them in Staples stores where low-wage Staples workers.
$7.25.
Same old thing.
It's a connected fight.
Yes,
We're all
it
in
is.
this together.
We're in this together. We are.
I want to thank our guests.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
And
Thank
I
you.
want to thank Kenyon, of course. We want to thank Pat. We want to thank Faith. And we want to thank everybody else who's in this, here. We still got Paul in the back. We want to thank him for that great historical thing. We were hoping to do a little more back and forth with what it taught us, but please do tune in. The Labor Forum is becoming a really happening place, and we're trying to fill the studio each week with those who are on the job to make a change. This is Fiaanne Mathiowetz saying goodbye for today, and we'll see you again next Monday, 4 to 5.
Stay strong, y'all.
Yay. My sister returned from the good show. Yes, it was.
Great.